How's it doing, everyone? In this quick tutorial, I'll show you how you can create a virtual environment with Python. So let's just begin. So I'll just press a Windows R and type CMD to open up my command line environment. Just magnify a bit and just zoom in by using Control Plus so we can actually see what we're doing right here. So I'm in my root folder. So I'll just go ahead and create a directory here. So I'll just do a mkdir, which is make directory, and let's call that virtual env, just like that. So we've actually made this directly, and let's change into this directory by using virtual env, like so. So now that I'm in this directory, what I'm going to do is to run a Python command that is going to prepare this folder for a Python virtual environment. And to do that, we'll just type python -m, and I'll use the keyword v, and v, this is going to create the virtual environment, but I need to specify the name of a new folder where this virtual environment is going to be contained. So to do that, let's just call that test virtual. So test virtual is going to be the name of our folder that is going to contain the scripts that will handle the virtual environment. To use a virtual environment, we have to activate that virtual environment. So now we're actually in our virtual environment. Let's go ahead and change to let's print out the directory. So if we do a dir and run this, we can actually see our test virtual within this environment. So let's go ahead and change our directory to test virtual. And now that we're in this test virtual folder, let's check out the content by using dir. So we can actually see we have an include, a library, a Python configuration for a configurable environment, and then we have this scripts folder. Let's go ahead and check what's in the script folder. So let's do a cd to scripts, and if we do a dir on this scripts folder, we can actually see we have an activate.bat, and some other configuration activations, and we can actually see some Python executables here. So what we're going to do is to actually run this package from the environment and then activate this environment. So next, if we want to activate this, all we need to do is type activate, like so, and this environment is activated. So what we're going to do is to jump back to our root directory. So I'll do a cd with 2 dots and just press this. So we're actually back in our test virtual environment. So next I'll just type code, because I use Visual Studio Code, a spacebar and a dot, and press the return key so we can open up Visual Studio Code. So what's going to happen is this: we'll actually see a new Visual Studio Code project, and what we can do is to create a new file. So let's go over here and create a new Python file. I'll just call that sample.py, just so we can test that environment. So I'll press Ctrl B to hide that, and let's just print hi. So if I save that and I run this, so I'll just say run without debugging, and I'll close this debug window and just drag this up here. When we see the name of the folder test virtual and it's in parentheses, it means we're running on a virtual environment. So what's important about the virtual environment, and why do we need this? So let's go ahead and just backtrack a little bit. Now let's say you're watching a tutorial on YouTube, and the person giving out that tutorial is running an old version of a Python module. Let's say, for instance, you're watching a tutorial on Pygame, and the person has actually used a Pygame version 1.92, or 1.96. Let's see this version. But if you pip install Python directly using this command, you're going to be installing Python 2.1.2. That means your version of Python is higher than the version of the tutorial you're using, so you might actually have conflict. what happens when they've changed some functions that no longer exist, or they've modified some functions. So a virtual environment allows you to create a safe space called a sandbox where you could test out and run old versions of software without needing to having to worry to always install the latest stuff or worry about conflicts. Basically, if the person teaching you is using 1.96, I'll just use 1.96 to get the same results. It's the same thing with Matplotlib or other packages. So right now that we're in that folder, let's go ahead and pip install a module right there. So what we're actually going to do, and I'll just clear my screen, so I'll do a CLS. So I'm going to say pip install pygame, and what we're going to do is to install a version. So we'll do equals, let's say version 2.0.0. So we're going to pip install pygame in that test environment folder. So if you press the return key and you have an active internet connection, Python is going to check, or pip is going to check if you have that package, and is going to install that package. So if we actually jump back to the web browser right now, this is the version I'm installing, 2.0.0, right, this one, the one done in 2020. And how I actually got here, you can go to pypy.org, which is a Python repository where you have a lot of Python modules and really cool stuff right here. You actually find most popular Python modules, you actually find them here. If you click on release history, you can check out the history of a specific module you're using. So let's go ahead and look at our command line to see if it's done. Okay, it's still kind of like preparing that setup. So you can actually use the double equal signs to select a version. If I just said pip install pygame without the equal sign and specifying the version of pygame, it's going to install the latest version of pygame. Right, so that's it. That's cool. So now that that's done, I think it's all done. It's all clear. It's all good. So we can actually see if there's a problem if we get back to Visual Studio Code. I think I have some few errors here. Okay, I think I have some few errors here. That's not really cool. So let's just see. So it says there is an issue with the package above, not pip. So let's try installing another package. So let's go ahead and just look right here. Now let's try another one real quick. Let's try truth.1.0. So let's do a pip install pygame 2.1.0 like so, and let's see if this one actually runs. So saying installing collected packages, and it's actually installed pygame 2.1.0. So 2.0.0 was giving us a problem, but we're able to install 2.1.0. So that's cool. So let's jump back to our Visual Studio Code and let's run. Let's try doing something here. So let's import the pygame module. So I'm just going to make this slightly bigger. I'm going to import pygame. And one cool thing about pygame is when you run a script with pygame, it tells you the version of pygame you're using. Alright, so let's just import pygame and let's just print anything. I should have just left my print high. So let's go ahead and just run this. So let's run without debugging. And we can actually see right here, we're actually running pygame 2.1.0. And we actually see that you have a hello from the pygame community. So that means we're actually running a sandboxed version of pygame within a virtual environment. To use a virtual environment, you activate a virtual environment. And when you want to exit your virtual environment, you have to deactivate your virtual environment, right? So let's go ahead and see how we can quickly do that. So if I go back to my if I get back right here and I do my CLS, oops, I'm just trying to clear the screen. Let's just test this. Let's say let's just say deactivate, and that's it. We're actually out of that virtual environment, right? So that's how you can quickly kickstart and run your virtual environment. And if you want to get out of it, you just deactivate that environment. So when you're on the command line, you need to kind of like navigate to this path right here. Then once you navigate to that path, you now click activate, and once it's activated, you actually see these two curly lines like so, which means it's activated. Actually, you can use the terminal directly from Visual Studio Code. Oops, I just want to exit this guy here. Good. We can actually use the terminal right here as well. This also works. So once again, thanks very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next lesson.